So now is 4 o'clock in Latvia and 3 o'clock in Amsterdam. I think we can start, and I welcome you in the seminar organized by Martijn, and so we can start, I think. Thank you very much for participation. I'm happy to see the head coaches from all of Europe, a lot of coaches from Asia, Africa, other countries. Okay, we must start. Martijn, floor is yours.
Thank you, Christians. Good afternoon, everybody. Probably all of you are sitting at home, just like me. And also welcome to Christians, of course. He is the initiator of this seminar, and he is the one who organized this in a very short time. What I will try to do today is to explain to you a little bit on what I did in the past as a national coach of the Netherlands, how I made a year plan, and how I developed a talent development system for the Netherlands, and exactly what I'm doing at the moment for some countries in the world, but also for confederations. After my job finished in the Netherlands, I'm doing a lot of work now for Pan Am and for several countries in Europe. I think that success in high performance depends on careful planning. And I will show you a little bit of the way I was doing that and how I'm still doing that. So the first topic today is how to set up a year plan. And before we start to do that, I think it's very important that we make targets for our plan. Of course, players are involved in the plan. We also need to look at all the facilities we have available in our plan, and of course the know-how we have as coaches. Without know-how, we cannot design a high-performance plan. And if you look to all those components, then, and I think most of you will know that already, targets should be very realistic and must be also achievable for players. And of course, they should be communicated with all the players. If you don't do that, then there always will be a difference between players and coach, and probably they are not on the same track to go for realizing their targets. And of course, when you make targets, players are involved. You have to analyze those players very, very well. You must analyze them technical, tactical, physical, mental, and of course, lifestyle. And of course, this is important in relation to your targets. All those components should be really high up when your target will be try to get to the Olympics or even winning an Olympic medal. And these components could be a little bit lower when you say, okay, with this player, I want to become the champion in my club in a certain age group. And of course, if we make a high performance plan, what kind of facilities do we have? What practice courts do we have? How many practice courts do we have? How many players do we have on those courts? Do we have a strength room available? Is video available? And if you really want to go to high performance, I think heart rate monitoring is very, very important. And of course, money is involved because nothing is for free in this world. Of course, if we talk about coaches, then it's not only, and we talk about know-how of coaches. I think it's, and everybody will realize that as a coach you need at least basic knowledge of all those things involved in badminton, technically, tactically, physical, mental, and on lifestyle. But not only you as a coach needs to know a little bit about that, not a little bit, just a lot, but also the other components of your team working with you to improve the players. So the medical staff and the mental staff should also be aware of what badminton is and how it's being played and what factors are involved. And then you see on the bottom benchmark. I think it's always important to compare your situation and your targets with the targets and situations of your opponents. If you want to qualify, for instance, for the Olympics, and you know that your opponents are practicing twice a day, 6 days a week, and you say, no, my player can practice once a day and maybe 4 days a week, then from the beginning on, you know already that it's almost impossible to reach your target. So always compare your own situation with the situation of your opponents. And I made an example. I will present an example of a year plan I made last year for a player for 2019. And as you all know, we had last year we had the European Games, and we had the European Games. So this player wanted to qualify in men's singles for the European Games, but he also wanted to qualify for the Olympics in 2020. Yeah, now by this Corona situation, that changed, of course. Probably a new plan has to be made to make this qualifying for 2021. And I call this product targets. You can measure it. It's you can see whether it's reached or not. So if somebody is not qualifying for the European Games, in this case, then the target is not reached. But to reach those targets, this player also needs to have some process targets. And process targets are not so easy to measure. In this case, it was consistency, it was mid-court defense, it was variation from the back, and it was changes in rhythm. But these process targets are contributing to the final product, to this target over here. What kind of facilities had this player? He could practice twice a day on court. A strength and conditioning room was available, and he could do running every week. We decided to measure his heart rate with Polar H10. Video analyzing was very, very poor at the beginning. What about know-how? He and his coach never worked with planning. They just practice every day. And there was no plan at all. He came back from a league competition or a tournament and said, okay, my drop shot was not so good. So they worked a little bit on drop shot. Or he came back and, I was exhausted in the third game. Okay, then we start to run a little bit. So there was no plan at all. And therefore, we also decided to have a test. And I think that's really important if you want to go for high performance, that you do at least a treadmill test where you measure the maximum oxygen uptake. Not only that, but also finding out the training zones for this individual player. And we come back to that later in when I explain my way of setting up a year plan. But in the test, in the test, the result was that this player had a very low aerobic capacity. So, and we know that if you have a low aerobic capacity, recovery after matches is quite long. Also, the recovery between rallies is not very good. And of course, it's very difficult to get really into a third game or to play a second or a third match each day. And that's what we have to do at the moment in tournaments. So when I start to make a year plan, I start with a blank Excel sheet. I'm doing this already for many years, and if you look what I've got on the left-hand side, I'm putting in at least the month in a year, the week begin, not the week end, but the begin date of the week, so the Monday, the week number. In this case, I wanted to put in the European tournament calendar because this was important for this player to play at least in the European tournaments. Then I have a line to mark which tournament he is going to play, when there was a league competition, when we would have practice camps, and when there was a test. Most of the time, this is a medical test and a fitness test together. And then over here, in the second circle over here, I put in my practice targets, and those are the process targets. So in this case, it was something like mid-court defense. It was consistency and change in rhythm, and I sometimes need to do that also for 1 week. So I have here 1 week so that I can put something in this box, say, okay, in this week I will do this and it. And of course, we want to note a physical cycle in the year plan. And then I think we come to the most important part of it. We must find out in one way or another how big the workload is in each week. So I want to say something about intensity on court, on strength training, on running, and the total. And I'm counting the number of sessions on court, the number of sessions in strength, the number of sessions in running, and the total. And that brings us to the total workload. And of course, I know that if you want to really do it very good, then you need to accumulate and find out intensity and workload in every single practice. But for the use of my year plan, this was more than good enough. So the first thing I fill in is months and dates. So you see over here, easy, January, February, March. In 2019, 7 was on Monday, 14 was on Monday, 7 was the start of week 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So this is an easy one. Then I have put in the product and process target. The product target were the qualifying for the European Games. So in green, you will see the period still in 2019 to qualify for the European Games. And after that, in April, initially the qualifying period for the Olympic Games is starting. So I put that in. And I also put in practice targets, and those are my process targets. And you see that already in the first line over here. There you see consistency, mid-court, flat defense, variation from the back, variation in drop shot. So I decided with this player to do the complete year, at least give attention to this type of strokes, tactics, in practice because it was important. And then you see over here, short term, and this is just 2 or 3 weeks. We also focus on defense. And in this couple of weeks, we focus on change rhythm and be patient in the court. And together we do that with net strokes. And of course, you can fill this in as much as you like. You can fill in a lot of things. But I learned that it's very difficult for players if I have over here 10, 12 items. If I have 10, 12 items, they cannot focus really on improving those items. And that's why I just go for just a couple of simple items. Then the next part was filling in the calendar. So this is the complete European calendar. This was good enough, and good enough for this player because he wanted to qualify for the European Games, and he wanted to qualify for the Olympics. And playing in the European events, at least in this year, was more than good enough for him. He was not really high on the world ranking, but we decided to go for the European calendar. And then over here, we marked, okay, and these are the tournaments you are going to play. And how did I choose those tournaments? First of all, I'm always choosing at least 2 tournaments in a row. Most of the time, not 3 in a row, because then the results in one of those 3 tournaments will not be that good because players are getting exhausted of playing and traveling. I'm choosing these tournaments because of ranking points. Qualifying for the European Games, qualifying for Olympics is depending on ranking points. So I had to figure out how many ranking points this player needs to get on that level in the world ranking to qualify. And he could reach that level by playing these events. Then I always go for 12 to 15 events per year. Everybody knows that the world ranking is based on the 10 best results. And if you play 12, then you could have a bad result or could fall out in a tournament with an injury. So at least you have to play 12, maybe 15 tournaments per year. It's also important to do that because we also know that players need at least 7 to 10 matches to get in their peak performance. And with 7 to 10 matches for peak performance, I mean real matches. And so most of the time I'm using the first tournament to get into form, to get the best result in the second tournament. That is not always possible. So then I try to copy, let's say, real tournaments in practice as well. But we all know that that real matches in practice, it's not exactly the same as in tournaments. So that's the way I'm choosing the tournament. And then, of course, it's important to fill in the physical cycle. And you see here an example of it. P1 is preparation 1. P2 is the second preparation phase. Then we have the pre-competition phase and the competition phase. And you see that over here. So sometimes over here, this is these 2 tournaments, the Dutch International and Croatia. That's the competition phase together with Hellas. That's already with 1 week in between. This is the competition phase. Then we go for preparation 1, preparation 2, pre-competition phase, and competition again over here. And of course, in those physical cycles, it's 1, 2, pre-competition, competition, recovery. But in our sport, with playing at least 10 events in a year, it's mostly not possible to fill in the recovery phase. So you see just over here, okay, 1 week of recovery after the European Games. Over here, 1 week of recovery after the World Championships. 1 week of recovery over here. So that's what we do with the physical cycle in a year plan. And what are we doing in those physical cycles? Sorry, I have to switch on my phone, off my phone. Sorry about this. If you look at the physical cycle, you see over here again, preparation 1, preparation 2, pre-competition, competition, and recovery. And they are also called early training phase, late training phase, pre-competition, competitive phase, rest and relaxation. But over here you see what kind of physical practice you should do in all those phases. So if you have put this in your calendar, then you know if I'm in preparation 1, a lot of attention should be given to my aerobic system. So that means that we go on court not higher than high aerobic intensity. And we will see later how we are doing that. We also see that, for instance, power and speed is in the first preparation phase. It's not required. So for every phase of the preparation, you can see over here what kind of physical system you are using and combine that with your technical and tactical exercises in your practice. And then I go to the volume. Of course, with you see over here my schedule of what I think badminton players should practice in hours a week, from under 15 to seniors, and how many events they need to play. And of course, when you start, when you have a player and he's practicing now at the moment 12 hours a week, and he wants to qualify for the European Games, and you say, okay, then we need to practice 24 hours. You cannot do that within 1 week or 2 weeks. It needs time for players to adapt. So to go from 12 to 24, it will take you at least half a year and even more. That's why I think it's very important that from under 15 on already and to under 17 and under 19, the numbers of practice in each week is going up. And also the number of playing events is going up. Then you are ready, when you really go for high performance in your senior ages, to really go for the hours you need to get your peak performance. Over here you see something about the intensity. We tested the player on the treadmill to find out his maximum oxygen uptake. But if we do that, then we also can find out what his training zones are on court. And you see over here his heart rates. And I have to say, this is very, very individual. It changes from player to player. It changes from girls to boys, men to women. So don't think that for every player you have these type of heart rates and training zones. something mentioned about what you are doing in those training zones, or what the effect of the training zone is. Low aerobic, improved basic stamina, burning fat, high aerobic, use of carbohydrates, aerobic, anaerobic, keep going, feeling the lactic acid, intensity, learning to deal with high levels of lactic acid, and max. Max is really, really full power. Then your heart is really, in this case, working between 195, 198. Over here, I've got exactly the same, no, not exactly the same, but I've got...
Hello, Martin.
Yes.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Samir from India. I just wanted to know how you can increase VO2 max, because we find that a lot of players actually have very less anaerobic capacity. So how do you increase that? What drills do you do? Is it to do more sprinting exercises? Is it to run more? What do you do to increase VO2 max?
Is it okay with you to wait with answering this question till the end? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Over here you see what I call intensity 1, recovery. Low aerobic is what I call intensity 2, and it's going up 3, 4, 5. I do this. This is for me on court, but also in running. In running, it's quite easy to measure this, but on court, we have to take into account that when you are bending over or stretching your body, bending over, going to the net, or stretching your body to go to the back, that your oxygen uptake in your lungs goes down to 30%. So when you're running on your court up and down, probably your heart rate will be higher than, let's say, this one. If you think you are in the aerobic, anaerobic phase, probably your heart rate will also already a little bit higher. So don't compare running heart rates with heart rates on court. On court, at least they are 5 to 10% higher than in the running. Then I do exactly the same with strength and conditioning. Core exercises, working with your own body weight, that's for me intensity 1. Strength training is intensity 2. Speed training, intensity 3. Power, intensity 4. And strength endurance, I think that's the heaviest one. That's what I noticed with my players. And I was using this intensity upgrading when I was making the year plan. So now we can fill that in, and you see that you see the physical cycle. We saw that, and then over here you've got practice workload. You've got it enlarged over here. So I've got the intensity for my on-court practice, and you see over here, this is already 3. That's high aerobic. 4, that's aerobic, anaerobic. 5 is max. So I fill that in for, let's say, more or less all the court sessions in this week. I also fill it in for the strength sessions I've got in a week. And I also fill it in for my running sessions in that week. And then that's the intensity. So the total intensity in this week is 9. Then I go numbers of sessions. I say, okay, I've got 8 court sessions, 2 strength sessions, 1 running session. So 8 plus 2 plus 1, that's 11. If I multiply 9, 11, then I've got 99. And I know at least a little bit about the workload in that week. And of course, when you want to really go to peak for your players, within that week, you have to monitor very, very well each practice on volume and intensity. But if I do this, I can say at least something during the year about my workload. So you see it going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down again, probably rest and holiday over here, and then going up again and finalizing the year. So in the end, I come to this type of year plan for this player. And of course, this year plan then should be translated to every week's training, where of course, if you have over here, for instance, if you have 8 court sessions, it's not possible to do all those 8 court sessions high aerobic, or in this week do all those 8 court sessions aerobic and aerobic. You also need to find a way in a week where you have a balance between workload and rest. But the total of the week and the total workload of the week is this. And the most important intensity of the week is the high aerobic part, or the aerobic anaerobic part, or the maximum part. And in this way, I made schedules for my players to get them to the best results. So this is finalizing my first presentation to you. And we had a question from one of the guys from India, I think.
Samir. Yes, Samir.
Samir.
Yeah.
Okay. And your question was?
My question was, how can we increase VO2 max in players?
Sorry, I'm working, as most of you, I think, from home, so my phone is going. So I switched off now and hope it will not go again. Of course, it has to do with this. If you want to increase your aerobic, high aerobic capacity, you have to practice this player in this intensity between 165 and 180.
I see.
How are you doing that? You can do that by running, and I always do it with interval running.
I see.
And with interval running, I mean the intervals we also have on court. Yeah. If you probably you did that sometimes. A rally will take you, let's say, between 8 and 35 seconds, something like that. So the average is about 25-30 seconds. So if I go for running, or if I go for exercises, and I want to focus on physically on improving the aerobic capacity, I do that in those kind of intervals, on court and off court.
Right. And Martijn, I had one last question. You also mentioned that process targets are not so easy to measure, like flat game or defense. But if I wanted to measure that, how do I do that? What do I analyze when I'm training my players in defense or in flat game? How do I measure process targets, even though it's tough?
I did it by looking at it.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at it.
I'm looking at the player. So I think that's the eye of the coach. That's the eye of the coach.
Yes. Right. Okay. Thank you, Martijn. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have other questions?
There is no questions. Also, about questions, you can raise your hand, and then I put microphone on. Why I switch off? Because we are too many now, and there will be internet capacity used. It's a reason. So once more, if you have a question, please raise hand. I saw in my so I will see in my computer, and then I will put a microphone and video on. Yes, I saw the question. Please, Nishant.
Hi, Martijn. It's wonderful to see you again.
I can't see you, Nishant.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, but yeah, my question is, when we focus on tournaments, it's like I can see that you have made a beautiful tournament arrangement for the player, but one of the time we have to recheck the plan, or maybe sometimes due to some short injuries, or maybe due to some reasons, maybe we have to change the plans. Then what? How about doing it again, or maybe to improvise it?
Yes. It's very nice to have a plan, and I think if you are working in high performance, you really need a plan. Yeah. But I have to admit, I change plans for most of the players probably every month.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of work. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, because
but that's your work as a coach, I think.
Yeah, because likewise, when I used to play badminton back in 2011-12, and I still remember that before 6 months of the national championship, unfortunately we had to change my plans due to some other reasons. But we did change it, and then sometimes maybe we get success and sometimes we don't. So
Yep.
how to minimize the ratio of failure?
Yeah, it's depending on a couple of factors, and I think the only factor you've got your where you have your influence as a coach is on the intensity and the volume of the practice. Getting more and more experience and knowing better and better your players, you see when they really start to struggle. You see when they are on the edge of what they are able to do. And in high performance, you practice really, really on the edge. And sometimes you go over it, yes, and then they are sometimes injured. Yeah. But that's part of high performance. And that's part, I think, of you as a high performance coach to watch exactly what they are doing. Yeah, and to know your players.
Yeah, and before getting off, I have a small question where, when we see the transition phase of junior going to junior to the senior, or maybe from advanced to the elite, so that time when the practice time when it increases, so we also have to think about the recovery phase, because sometimes players, they don't get enough recovering time due to the other commitments as well.
Yes, of course. If you look at the final result of my plan last year, you see there's not really a lot of recovery, and this is a high performance player.
Yeah.
Willing to go for it.
Yeah.
But if you look to the blue spots over here, that's really recovering.
Yeah.
If you make a week plan, then you don't practice, let's say, Monday twice very hard, Tuesday twice very hard, Wednesday twice very hard. Then you do maybe Monday, Tuesday, and the second practice on Tuesday is already not a really hard one, and on Wednesday morning it will be a very easy one, or you change that to strength and conditioning, so that another part of your body is working, and you're getting more or less rest for let's say the badminton part of your body. So in that way, you can also switch a little bit with work and rest, work and rest. But especially with younger ones, yes, you're right. You have to take care of how to build it up and give them more than enough rest in between matches and in between training periods.
Okay, thank you, Martijn.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Monica Radowska, do you have a question, or you just ask about where is the bottom of right hand?
More of a technical question.
Okay, for us, for Martijn.
Sorry?
You've got a question for me?
No,
or?
no. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
No, the question was from Monica about where is the bottom right of right.
Okay.
Yeah, right hand. So do you? It's a question for other players, no, our participants as well, or not? You can also ask some questions in chat. There is a chat, as you know, during the seminar. So is there any other question for about this topic? Because then we can go to second topic if there is no questions about this. Okay, Martijn, let's go with another presentation.
There we go for the next topic. It was talent development. A very well-known system at the moment is the long-term athlete development system. It's already from, I think, the early 70s, from last age. Coming from Canada, made for an insurance company. It's a little bit scientific, but it's useful for us as well. We have to realize that over the last 3-4 years, there are other systems coming up. There's a lot of research being done at the moment on development of youngsters in the what they call the athletic skills model. Especially a lot of things changed for youngsters in the last years with having mobile phones and computers and things like that. So at least in the western part of Europe, we realized that basic skills like running and throwing are not very well developed anymore. So we need to do something on that as well within our practice. But looking at development, and then I've got over here a sheet, and I make it a little bit bigger over here, where you see the ages. On the right side, it's the age of the girls, and sorry, on the left side is the age of the girls, and on the right side it's the age of the men. And then you see already a little bit the difference, and we know that girls are develop a little bit faster than boys. We know that, but that's also why we need to look in a different way to the girls than to the boys. This is how I try to develop players for the Netherlands years ago. Of course, I did not pick them up between the age of 0 and 6 when they have an active start. Most of the time, we were somewhere over here around 11 years old, 11 years, 10 years, 11 years. There we picked up the players. And then you see already that after the active start, players should have learned their fundamentals already. So fundamental movement like running, balancing, throwing, rolling, things like that. That develops coordination. what we see at the moment is that the youngsters from now compared to the youngsters of, let's say, 30 years ago are not that good anymore. So probably we need to do in our practice also a little bit, probably a lot on fundamental things. Play many sports. This does not mean that they have to go to a club, but if you look at youngsters, they play soccer outside. They are running. They maybe play volleyball, or they are do swimming, things like that. But at least they should do a lot of different sports. And when we pick them up, we learn them to train. There is a coach, and he or she is saying to those kids, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's learn to train. Not only that, but also learn specific sports skills, but still try to play a variety of sports and try to develop skills at least in 3 sports. And I'm not saying that they have to be, again, that they have to be a member of 3 different sports clubs, but at least if they choose to play badminton, and then stimulate those youngsters, those players also to do soccer outside, or to go for a swim, or to play basketball if they like. I've seen more than enough youngsters in this age group, 10, 11 years old, practicing already every day, badminton. In the weekend, they went with their parents to a tournament. So there's only badminton. And of course, by doing this, they were very advanced in their age. So everybody thought these are the talents. But when they come on later, when they become 12, 13, 14 years old, then the other ones are coming up, have better skills, and they overcome those, let's say, early training beasts. Then from learning to train, we go to training to train. Endurance base, develop speed and strength already. Badminton specific skills over here. So in this phase, we do that. And I will show you later what it means for your practice. The later phase, we train to compete. So you have to optimize fitness, individual specific badminton skills, and we go for international play. And in the end, we go for train to win. And then it's only badminton specific, and of course, player specific. And in the end, okay, we hope that players, by doing this, they will be active for the rest of their life. And now I go back to this part. Here on this side, you see the different stages. Fun badminton, players younger than 9 years. Basic badminton, 9 till 10, 11. 10 years for girls, 11 for boys. Training badminton, 11, 13, 14. Physical badminton. Okay, you can read that. But over here, you can see what you need to do. Physical, technical, tactical, and mental. I'm not saying that this is for every individual player exactly the same. If you have a real talent, probably he or she will go faster to this. Winning badminton, players older than 20 years. I think Victor Axelsen or Peter Gate or Paul Erik Hoyer Larsen, they were already younger than 20 years when they were winning their first international senior event. So it's not, this is just a guideline to fill in your practice in certain and in different age groups and development groups of your players. And again, over here, I'm calling ages, and this is more or less. We know that some youngsters, they develop very fast and they are early mature, and some of them are far more later mature. So, okay, look at their calendar age, but also look at their biological age, because that decides exactly what you need to do. No need, I think, to go to all these skills, but for instance, if to take a couple of things out, basic movement on court, yeah, that's what you need to learn over here already, eh? How to run over court and how to step out instead of rolling out, for instance. Over here, improve basic skills already between 11 and 13, 14 years. Basic hitting skills, eh? Keep the shuttle in the court. Learn already complex strokes in this age group over here. So in this way, we can make some kind of system where we have at least an idea of what we need to learn our youngsters in different age group or biological age group. And here I have this again, and I do this because then you can see a little bit what I mean. If we talk about fun badminton, and this is the pictures over here are from a very old book from Germany, but these type of things we do that still, relay games, you hit and you run to the other side, or this is exactly the same as fundamentals. It's balancing and hitting, so it's eye-hand coordination combined with balancing. This is what we see with fun games on court, and I think this part is very important. This is what I see the most. We've got a lot of players on court, sometimes even 6 on a court, and they just play up and down, up and down. So they run forward and back, forward and back. In this pattern, they run forward and back, but they also need to step to the side. So if you design exercises and you practice with youngsters, do this, but also this one. This is what they need in the end as well. And most of the time we forget this one. Of course, badminton should be fun. Going to the next phase, hitting is the most important part. Hitting is the most important. So learn the basic skills for hitting, forehand and backhand, running skills on court, coming into the right position for hitting. Tactical, play short games, many different opponents, so that they learn to play against a lot of different type of players. Games with cards, games with dices, they need to learn warming up and cooling down. They need stretching, and I know there's a lot of discussion at the moment on stretching, but at least if you do that, then they have to learn it already in this age group. Later age group, complex hitting, start to practice already a little bit strength and conditioning with core exercises, but also learn, for instance, squats with a stick. That can be done already over here. No weights, of course, but with a stick you can learn the squat movement. This is also the age where you need to start with also some tactical things. What am I doing when I'm serving short to the middle or to the side? What will happen if I serve over here? What will happen if I serve over there in men's singles? And not only in men's singles, of course, but also in men's doubles or in mixed doubles. But start to learn already the basics over here. Also start to work with short-term goals. Not maybe with product goals. You have to get that and that results, but goals based on development of own skills. So better serving, better smashing, instead of the smash somewhere over here in the middle, close to the sideline. That's a development of your own skill. And I think these players, I know these players, they like to develop their skills. For them, it's very nice to learn that they can go smash from here to there. Then we come to the next phase, the physical badminton. That's where we start to do really develop the aerobic and anaerobic capacity. Still, we can do also some coordination, but also learns the skills of strength training. We don't start with the real strength training, squat with stick, lunge without weights, etc., but also develop already a personal style. And most of us, we think that there is just one basic perfect way to play a forehand clear or a forehand drop shot. But if you look at top level players, and not only top level players, but look at players on each level, no drop shot, no smash is exactly the same. Players have their personal style. And that the reason for that is that everybody is built in a different way. So as a coach, you need to develop a personal style. We always say, hit a forehand drop shot at least in front of your shoulder. With some players, it is a little bit more outside the shoulder or maybe a little bit above the head. But as a coach, you need to discover that and you need to make that as personal as possible for each player. Of course, in this phase, we also start to make plans. We make plans, we deliver, we review, evaluate plans. We work with mid-term goals. Mid-term goals, skills, so process goals. Evaluate and improve. And more, I think we also need to go, at least when they are 16, 17 years old, we have to go to product goals as well. So winning this or getting in the semi-final of that tournament or beating that player or whatever. Then we come to the last phase before we are getting into the seniors. 17, 19 years old, strength training based on badminton, different needs for shoulders, arms, legs, and torso, personal style, strokes and footwork developed for the best result. Now the result is coming in. Personal tactics with personal skills. Mental aspects, the last point, or what are we doing in the in the break? Development of mental match skills, whatever. And after that, we go to seniors, and that's winning badminton, of course. And I've got the last sheet of my presentation. Talent identification. For me, it's very nice to see that I see more and more coaches identifying talent, not on results. As you see in my schedule, it's really on the bottom. When I look at talents, I first look at motivation. If I see somebody really motivated, I know I can work with him or her. Then I think the contribution of the parents is really important, because when they are young, those parents need to bring them to the practice, to bring them to tournaments, to help them at home. So if they don't want to contribute, I doubt whether maybe a guy or a girl with a good motor talent will become a good badminton player, because parents are not stimulating them. The third option for talent identification I see that is for players when they have the will to achieve the highest. When they are satisfied with just being there and make some points, that's nice, really nice. He or she can be a very social club player, no problem at all. We need a lot of those players, and I think it's very good also for the individuals if they have that attitude, because if they use that to be active in their life, that's also very, very good. But if you want to go for high performance, then I want to see already at a very young age the will to achieve the highest. On the number 4, I've got badminton skills. And everybody will say, yeah, that's logical. Yes, of course, that's logical. But maybe even more important, and that's why it's immediately after this, is learning skills. And with learning skills, I mean motor learning skills. When somebody learns a backhand within 10 days, then I know the coordination or the learning coordination of this player is really good. And he can learn in a fast way to play the game, to play badminton. If it takes somebody 2 years to learn a backhand drop shot, he or she will be 65 or something like that before he can play. So that's not the way to do it if you want to go for high performance. And in the end, I look at results. And of course, results are more important in a higher age group in talents with juniors than in a younger age group. So if you are under 19, then results are more important. It's going up in my list. So over here, results is going up in my list with under 19, but with under 15, this is my list, motivation. But results is coming up with under 17 and under 19. And this is what I think, and you saw that also in the presentation of a year plan. This is what I think players need to practice to have international success. And with practice, I mean practice related to badminton. So under 15, they should already have at least 12 to 18 hours per week. Under 17, for sure, 18 hours per week. Under 19, 18 to 22 hours per week. And seniors, 22, 24. So this is the end of my presentation. Questions?
So I have a question from YouTube channel.
Okay.
So sorry. Hi from Germany. When would you make the switch from basic development to high performance? Would it be a likewise plan for under 15 as well?
Is the question if I would make the same plan for high performance as for an under 15 player?
Dari di grup tapi ngingetin yang lain. Kofung bilang ini kayak plan yearly sama turnamen kan.
Oh, plan yearly kok orang begini ya?
Okay. Christian, can you repeat the question, please? Because I did not understand very well what the question was.
So once more time. So the question was, I think it was about previous presentation. Maybe it's also possible that he's from Germany. When would you make the switch from basic development to high performance? Would it be a likewise plan for an under 15?
For an under 15 player, I would make a more, let's say, not so individual. I would focus on the skills and development of that player, not really on results. But I would use the tournaments and matches to measure more process targets than product targets. And going from, let's say, basic development to high performance development with under 19 players. And that's what we see over the last years already. Under 19 players, they are also participating in the European circuit. So in fact, they are already, they must already be under the same, let's say, planning as senior players. I hope this is answering your question from Germany.
Yeah, I hope. Another question from Vaida. Dear Martin, is it possible to get your talent development slideshow?
Yes, of course. I think Christian, you have got all the mail addresses of the participants.
Yes.
So I can send everybody in PDF all the slides of both presentations.
Okay. So any other questions? If you have questions, you can press the button, raise hand, or also you can just unmute yourself. It's possible.
Hello, Martin.
Yes.
Hello, Matjaž from Slovenia. I just have one question. Do your players wear heart monitors on all trainings and matches, or just on matches?
In training sessions, always. Some players don't like to wear it in matches, but I force them to do it at least in practice matches. But sometimes when they are in tournament matches, they don't like it because they feel something. So then I can't measure that, but more or less, yes. They in every session they wear it.
Do you use the heart rate then data to measure the stress and workload, or do you just guess this by your numbers?
No. What I do is I've got the intensity planned, and I check with the heart rate monitoring. I check if they come to the intensity I want to achieve in that session.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
So any other questions? As said before, you can unmute yourself and start to question.
Hi, Martijn. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, this is Nishant here again. With the talent development, like athlete development, how crucial to train them mentally also, apart from physically, tactically, and technically?
I think that's really important. I think most of we as coaches, we focus on physical, tactical, technical practice, and we don't have a very good eye for mental development. But that's also the reason why I put that in my talent development scheme, that they really need to start to work with process goals or with product goals, and they really need to realize what kind of mental problems they could have. They feel, when they have to make the winning point, they feel like everybody, they feel some tension. And if we recognize that, and if we learn the players already on a young age to work with that, then for them it's easy to deal with that when they have to play, for instance, the final of the Olympic Games.
Yeah, because this is one of the big challenge as a coach we all faced. I mean, perhaps when we work with a different kind of category of players, and also with a different character, like somebody is maybe mentally strong, somebody is not, and in order to going through the Olympics, or maybe playing on an elite level, but somewhere we have to start with a very small stage, or maybe from the junior level. So Martijn, like many players, they're very aggressive. Many players, they're very neutral. But in a match situation, in a tight situation, how to get the work done where they can hold their nerves, because that's really important. Or maybe I can ask in a simple way that, is there any kind of exercise or maybe an experiment where we can teach the kids or the players that how to hold the nerves on a difficult situation? Likewise, maybe third game 18 all, 19 all, but then your heart rates are really up and you might lose patience many of the time.
That's very difficult to copy, because I don't think it's possible to copy the situation where you are playing in the final of the All England, and you can make the winning score. How can you practice that at home? You can't do that. The only thing you can do is try to learn players from very young to deal with tension. And tension can be physical stress, but it can also be mental stress. And there are different fun games to do so, as an individual or as a group. But I think it's and there are a lot of books to read and to learn about this, but I think it's going too far now to say, okay, you have to do this and this exercise. It depends also on the group of players and things like that. But try to give the right, let's say, stress stimulants to younger players as well.
Thank you, Martijn.
Okay.
Okay, another question from So.
Hello, Martin.
Hello, Puri.
I'm Puri from Indonesia.
Yeah, Jarum.
Yeah, Jarum, right.
Good.
Yeah, I just want to ask about the year plan. Can we do this year plan for the group? Because I'm handling the doubles players, right? So how we measure the program for them?
Yeah, first of all, when you make a year plan in high performance, it's always an individual plan. So
Okay.
You make always, because nobody is exactly the same. So you make the plan individual. And of course, when you have a double pair, they at least they have to play the same tournaments. So the physical cycle is for everybody exactly the same, for maybe 2 or 3 couples. So but by testing, you know the deficit of one player or another player. And so that's where you, in your plan, you make a difference between player 1 and player 2. And especially when you go for doubles, also it's also, most of the doubles players, they are not all round. They have more stronger components and weaker components. But you as a coach need to find out, what should I do with this player in this double and that player in the same double to go to a higher level?
Okay.
It can be that you have to decide, okay, with this player I have to do more work on the net, or with this player I have to do more defense and special defense, so that the double as a combination will become stronger. And that means that exercises for both players are different also. So the plan will be different for both of them.
I see.
Yeah.
So for the things, we have to measure every individual, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Martijn.
Okay.
We have another question from just a second.
Hello, Martijn.
Yes.
Samir here again from India.
Okay.
Yeah, I just so usually when we coach, what we find is that during practice, all the players, they are able to play, like many of the players who play like national tournaments and state tournaments, they are able to really play well during their training. Like during practice, they are really good in their toss shot, their smash, their drops, their net game. But when they go to the tournaments, what happens is that they're not able to implement their learnings, and they really fail during the tournaments, and they really come out demotivated. And how do I change that? How do we change that how do we change the mindset of the players?
Yeah, that's again a mental question, of course. First of all, you have to realize that no player is playing 100% in the match what he can do in practice, because in practice players are mentally more relaxed, so they can better focus on the execution of strokes and movements on courts.
Yes.
So the only thing what you can do is try to make the practice a little bit more stressful.
Okay.
And of course we do that already, by playing 1 against 2, for instance. That's already a more stressful situation.
Yes.
And if you make that in a certain age stage also a competition, when 3 of them, of course, who can make the most points against 2, that's already a stressful situation.
Yes, absolutely. So is the key, does it also depend on playing as many amount of tournaments as possible? Like, is that a good way?
No. That's certainly not a good way, because you need time to improve your skills. You need time to recover, to relax, not only physical but also mentally. You also need to get away from it to come back better.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Martijn.
Okay.
Martijn, do you see the questions from our chat? Of questions there.
Yeah. Okay, I will start on top. Hello everyone. Hello from Bangkok. From Zagreb. Let's see. Yeah. Are you able to share your spreadsheets and documents? Yes, Mr. Stuart Carson. Yes, I will do so. We've got your email address, and so we will send the presentations in PDF to you. Dear Martijn, is it possible to get your talent? Yeah, it's possible. Vaida and Nissan, can you upload the video of this stream on YouTube? I don't know. I think so.
It is. We are in live now. It means that there will be video also after the event, of course.
Okay. Henry Vervoort from Italy. Hello, Henry. Hoe is het met jou? I can speak Dutch with him, so sorry about this. How do you do the core training sessions when you have players who are in different phases of their plan and need different physical workloads? Yeah, that's a matter of planning, Henry, and to differentiate on each court. So I put if I have more or less players of the same physical workload, I put them together on one court, and I take another court for another physical workload. But also within, let's say, if you have 2 or 3 players on the same court with different physical workloads, you also can make variation over there as well. Somebody can have to go to the max, and somebody is on low aerobic exercises. So when you turn, you can differentiate that, and I hope this is helping you a little bit. What kind of test do you do also beside maximum oxygen test, Rock Tribus? I do sometimes, or I did sometimes, the beep test, the shuttle run test, where I know that the end of step 7 is also the heart rate, where you go from high aerobic to, let's say, the phase where the intensity is aerobic, anaerobic. So step 7, the top of step 7 is almost the same. Thank you for the session. Okay. Yeah, I've got them, I think.
I have some questions there. Hello, Martin, please, what is your viewpoint? No, what is your opinion about importance of mental preparation? What are your recommendations about this type of preparations? Thanks, Eduard. It's from Joseph.
Yeah, mental preparation is probably one of the most important parts. But like I said, mental preparation starts already in the practice, and it starts already on young age. So if you do mental preparation, you have to learn them in a way already during practice. In fact, a warming up is already a mental preparation. If you want to start your practice session, then you have to learn to focus on the practice session, what is coming. And that's exactly the same as prepare yourself mentally on the match, what is coming. So if you as a coach is leaving the warming up only to the players, then probably their mental preparation will not be good. I'm not saying that you always have to be in charge of your warming up and therefore mental preparation, but at least you have to learn them how to do it.
Okay, another question from Rock. He have not microphone. So what kind of test do you do also beside double 2 max? Sorry, my microphone is not working.
Yeah, I answered that already. It is the what I'm doing is a beep test, so the shuttle run test, and of course you can do also Wingate or what's the other one to measure strength. Forgot the name. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the name of it. But if you want to compare it with the maximum oxygen uptake test, then it's the beep test or the shuttle run test.
Okay, there is one more question from. Thank you for special thanks. or not? It's not a question. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, is there any questions? Ah, yes, we have one. Ivan Puziak, please.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. A few questions. One of the question is about the patience on the court in the training. When you have sessions, something like this, like when you want that the player is more mentally strong, when you want to make it and prepare also for the tournament, do you include also the sport psychologist in the training, or this one is just the place and the time for the coaches?
The last one.
The last one, okay. The other one is when I see the weekly practice hours and you write the U15, U17, 19, and the working hours. In this, for example, U17, you said around 18 hours per week and 1 day rest. My question is, what is included in these 18 hours? Is in
every badminton related practice, so on court, running, and strength and conditioning.
Okay, because I also think that in these ages, for example, U17, is important to include the video analysis with the players, and this one is for me quite a lot, the spending time, which one they don't have a lot because they have schools and some other things, which one they need to do it in the day. Is it possible to give them, they do it some homeworks, like homeworks, I call it homework. They do it at home and give their analyze by themselves at home and analyze with the coach. Or the better way is the analyze with them immediately when they watch some matches or their matches or something.
Yeah, it's this is quite a difficult question, because what is analyzing? When you as a coach are watching a video, we know that if you are really focused, you can really focus on a video for 3, maybe 4 minutes. After that, your attention is going down. And then you are a coach, so you want to really focus on it. So imagine you are a young player. If he or she is watching a video and you want them to analyze, after 2 minutes, it's already gone. So if you want to analyze, make it very short. Try to show only the most important things what you want to learn to your players. On the other hand, if they see a lot of play without analyzing, then they also do some learning, visual learning in their head. So I always stimulate players to watch matches. And in fact, when I was working with the national team, when players were waiting for their turn to go to the physio, there was always some screen with matches going on. And they were just sitting over there and watching, and sometimes they had comments and sometimes not. Yeah, but at also, least there was something.
Yeah, is it good to do it with analyze? For example, after the trainings, you record for example, we record the courts when they have the trainings, and if have something to show about the footwork or something like this, is it good to do it to show short things, which one we think like coaches that is important in the stretching time when they have it?
No, I don't think so. I have to say I don't have a lot of experience with that. But I know, for instance, from volleyball, they do instant video coaching. So they play a rally, and within 30 seconds, the players are getting feedback. And that works more or less the best. So if you say, okay, I do something on footwork and I'm taping it on video, then you should show that immediately after. and then they can improve.
Yeah,
If you
that's
do
the
that,
way, I think. Yeah.
sorry.
That's the way. What I think. I think that for example, if it's training, if you're talking about the training and they have stretching after the training, my opinion is that the best way is to show immediately after when they finish this short thing, just some step or I don't know, some shot.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you. And one more thing, but this one I don't think so that is connect too much with all of this. Okay, but question here in Asia start more. I'm from Croatia, but I work in Thailand already 7 years here in Bangkok. So what I can see here is that all of this we talk about the clubs or the national teams, but more and more here in Asia start to, for example, in Thailand, is focus on the private trainings, private coaches, which one behind stay all the family, all the parents stay behind all of this. And the coaches are in the situation that we cannot manage all of this like in the clubs. So everything starts to be like tennis, not like badminton. Everything starts to be like tennis because parents now here in Thailand, they can spend a lot of money for everything. They will pay everything, but they will decide like 70% all of this for their kids. They will decide by themselves. And in all of this, it's really hard to find the balance. For example, I have one situation that the girl, little girl, parent one, she's young, just 14 years old, but parent one 3 trainings in the day. That's 6-7 hours in the day trainings. And they want only like this and any other ways. Okay, I like a coach, I can say, okay, we cannot accept this one. The kid is like this and she needs to do something other, blah, blah, blah. But what is, this one will be in the future. I think, my opinion, this one will be like this in the future, like same things like what is in the tennis. I connect with the tennis. I think that we in a quite hard position like a coaches to do it something like this. This is not clubs, this is not academies, this is not national teams. Everything is private. What we can do it like a coaches with situations like this. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I think as a coach, you have to make a choice. Do you want to earn a lot of money or do you want to produce high performance players?
Yeah, I agree. But
yeah,
okay, the player is talent. The player is talent.
Yeah,
and it's not everything in the money. Okay.
No. But we know that if we go for something like that, then for sure, and you can. There's a lot of research done on talent development and also longitudinal. So over, let's say, 12 to 15 years. And we know from those researchers that the ones who are really practicing on a very young age in very high numbers of hours per week, in the end, they will not they will even not be there at all. Okay. So we know that, and of course, yes, I see that also that parents with a lot of money, they want to stimulate their son, their daughter, okay, and they see their son or daughter as the next champion of whatever. But they need to realize it's not working like that. And but if you as a coach accept the way they want to do it and say, okay, they can hire me for, and I can make money. Yeah, that's a choice you have to make.
Okay, and the last question: which age you think that is need to be include the sport psychology?
You mean the professional sports psychology?
Yeah.
That depends really on the individual player. It depends on, especially also on the let's say the relation between the player and the parents. If in the example you mentioned with parents pushing that girl so hard, I think she will need in the end a lot of professional help.
Me too. Okay, Martijn.
I have also questions from the chat. So what was the best beep test result in international level category under your watch, and by whom? Thank you in advance for the answer.
What was the best result in beep test?
Yes.
I think somebody went to stage 17.
Okay, and do you see another question also in the chat list? Martijn?
Yes?
There is another question. Maybe you can read yourself.
Let's have a look.
What is your opinion
about stretching? Yeah.
Can you read the
Yeah. If we talk about stretching, then there are two different types of stretching: dynamic stretching and let's say it's static stretching. And wait a moment, if I can find it fast, then I can show it to you. Wait. Okay. Can you see my my screen now?
Yes.
This is what I think about stretching. You've got dynamic stretching, static stretching. And this is what we know at the moment. Is it preventing injuries? No. Is it advances recovery? No. Is it improving flexibility? Yeah, if you do 2 minute stretch, then you've got 10 minutes more flexibility. If you do 4 to 6 minute stretch, then you've got 60 minutes more flexibility. We know that static stretching decreases strength temporarily. Dynamic stretching improves results. We don't know at all. So that's what we know at the moment, and that's my opinion about stretching.
Okay, so we have not any other questions. Before we estimate the time for the this seminar for 1 hour and a half, so we are some 10 minutes past. But we can announce that we will organize maybe some other seminars. We will announce about them also by mail. You also have, Martijn, an idea about the doubles, yes?
Yes, of course. I've got ideas on doubles. I've got a lot of ideas.
Yes. So thank you very much for joining us. We will send you presentations by mail a little bit later. Okay. See you in another seminars. Thank you, Martijn. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.